excited for you guys to join us today. I am Christy, and I am a talent acquisition partner with St. Alphonsus Health System. I currently support hiring efforts for our critical care and step down units. We're excited for you to be here to talk about the application and interview process. Um, the intention behind this session, just so you are aware and kind of what to expect, is this is really for you. Like, we're doing these sessions to make sure that you have all the resources that you need to be successful through our application and interview process. So we wanted to create a platform where we can talk about the organization, give you some hints, tidbits to use throughout the process. So that is the intention behind these sessions. It is super informal. So if you have questions as we're walking through things, you're welcome to interrupt and ask questions. You can drop them in chat. We'll watch chat. But again, this is really the intention behind it is for you to make sure that you feel like you're prepared and ready to go through our application and hiring process. Before I kind of dig into the PowerPoint itself, I wanted to let Johanna introduce herself. So I'll do that really quickly if you don't mind, Joe, just introducing yourself.
No, not at all. Thanks. I'm Johanna. I am also a talent acquisition partner, and I hire for more of the acute care spaces. That's the areas that I recruit for nurses.
Thanks, Joe. So just to kind of give you an idea of what we'll cover today. So we're going to cover more about who we are and what sets us apart as an organization. We found that that can be useful to you as you go through interviewing and answering questions, hint, hint, on what you can prepare for. We're going to talk about our culture and our values, which will also be embedded into our interview process. We'll talk about our nurse residency, pay and benefits, and then we will provide some interview tips for you as you kind of go through the process of interviewing. So again, if you have questions, just let us know. We're happy to support and answer any questions that you have. But to get started, I'm kind of the first thing we'd like to talk about is who is St. Alphonsus. So this will be helpful to you to know if you don't already. This will be helpful as you go through the interviews. I anticipate you will be asked what you know about us. I anticipate that you should anticipate you should be able to speak to this. So St. Alphonsus is a Catholic faith-based not-for-profit healthcare system that employs more than 6,000 colleagues and more than 500 medical staff in Idaho and Eastern Oregon. So on the screen, you're going to see our 4 medical centers, which consists of our Boise location, which is a level 2 trauma center with 387 plus beds. It is also a level 1 stroke center. This facility is the highest trauma designated facility in the region. So that's important to note. I always tell my candidates that I'm talking with, when you think of critical, high acuity, very sick patients, you're in the valley, you're going to think of the Regional Medical Center at St. Alphonsus. It is also home to the only neurosurgical trauma ICU in the state. We're really excited about that. That was opened a couple years ago. And then we do have our Nampa location, which is our newest facility, and it's a level 3 trauma center with 150 plus beds. Also, just for your own awareness, it is going to go through an expansion soon. So that's really exciting for growth opportunities for people. In Oregon, we have a level 4 trauma center in Ontario, and it's a 49 bed facility that provides essential emergency care to their area. And then we have a facility in Baker City that's a 36 bed critical access hospital that's dedicated to more rural healthcare. One thing to note, you won't see them necessarily on the screen, is that we have over 80 clinics spanning multiple specialties. So those are called our St. Alphonsus Medical Group. So it really does offer endless opportunities for professional growth if you want to be in an outpatient setting and maybe specialize in something like women's health or we have maternal fetal, we have all kinds of things. Maybe you want to be in an urgent care. Who knows where your path might take you, but there is a lot of opportunities in the outpatient setting. The one thing I always like to mention is that we don't generally start graduate nurses in the clinics for a variety of reasons, but most importantly is like sometimes you're the only nurse in the clinic, so it's really not conducive for a learning environment for a graduate nurse coming into the profession. But they certainly can be something that you could set your sights on and think about for future goals. So that's a little bit about the clinics. And then you will see the emblem in the middle of the screen. That emblem signifies Trinity Health, which is one of the largest faith-based health systems in the country. Trinity Health has over 121,000 colleagues across 26 states, and we are part of Trinity Health. And this affiliation really does provide us access to nationwide expertise, resources, and best practices. In my opinion, it really does allow us to blend the benefits of a really large organization with the close-knit community feel of a local organization. We'll talk about what makes St. Alphonsus really special, and what makes us kind of stand out and unique is our culture. But I think when you think about the large organization of Trinity Health and St. Alphonsus and things like that, it really does blend the best of both worlds, because you can be really ingrained into your community and the organization right here at home. But we are able to collaborate with health systems across the country under the Trinity Health umbrella that allows us to share ideas, understand what's going on across the nursing market, understand ideas or implementations that other hospital systems that have done are really successful. And so it really is a great place for us to be in. Also, we like to talk about the culture. So personally, this is one of my favorite topics. I love talking about our culture. I think you will see that we have a really strong culture based on our people are really happy in their units. We don't, like for critical care, I don't see a lot of turnover in those units. That is a idea that people are really happy in their roles. And so culture is a big part of that. So I think it's important as a candidate for you to know and understand the culture so that you can ensure that it's something you want to participate in and you want to be a part of. So I do also anticipate that through the interview process at some point you will be asked how you are going to contribute to our culture or how it resonates with you. So I would be prepared to speak to that. So you just see on the screen our vision, our mission, our values. As I mentioned, this really is what we feel like sets us apart. There are some other things that we'll talk about on the next slide, but really the gist of our culture really is goes back to the basics of like we are faith-based. That's we have our mission, our vision, our values. That really is how we operate day to day. When we're working with each other, when we're taking care of patients, we should be following these values. And that's really what we go back to is like, are we treating each other with kindness and respect and care so that when everybody comes to work, you can do what you love to do in an environment where you feel supported, you feel like your contributions are valued, and you feel empowered to do the work that you really love to do. So kind of next slide. This is more kind of, these are exciting things that we like to note. If you are from the Valley, you may have seen the new ads running. Basically, it's the tagline is "Bring it." Essentially, what that means is like we can take anything at St. Al's, whatever it is, whatever you're facing as a patient, we can take it, bring it. We are, as mentioned, the region's only level 2 trauma center. We have the only neurosurgical trauma ICU in the state. The list goes on and on. Like when we build these slides out, it's often like, what all do we put on there? We could put things from a variety of places in every area. So they're doing great things and able to do really exciting things. But this is just a snapshot of a few things. The other thing we like to note is that we have been named as one of America's best large employers. That's really important. I think, again, ties back to that culture piece. It is a significant testimony to how people feel when they're working here. So that's just a little bit about the organization, the culture, and then just a little bit about the things that we are excited about. So I'll turn it over to Jo. She's going to talk more about like residency benefits and things like that.
Perfect. Thanks, Christy. So regardless of the unit you are hired into, you are going to be placed into a residency program. Our residency programs, they vary in length. It can be up to 6 months long or 10 to 12 months long. It kind of just depends on the unit. We cater it based on like the unit you're hired into, and we focus our residencies on the skills and the trainings based on the unit and kind of the skill sets that you need. But our residencies do include like a classroom setting, as well as you are paired up with the clinical educator when you first initially start with us too. So that clinical educator, you're going to be kind of in that preceptorship with them for, it can be 6 to 8 weeks. And again, it kind of just depends because timing with your preceptorship will vary. But regardless of the unit you're hired into, with less than a year of experience, you're going to be a part of a residency program. And it's very focused on kind of the area that you are hired into. Okay, so everyone here has applied and submitted your application, which is great. And you should have already completed the unit preference survey indicating your top unit preferences. If you haven't already, you should have been connected with a nurse recruiter based on your preferences. And with that conversation, they'll get to know you. And kind of as Christy mentioned prior, we're going to be asking you, why you selected St. Alphonsus, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're looking for. And our intent is to get you in front of nurse managers, nursing supervisors to kind of get you into the pathway of kind of what you're interested in. And we do have an interview event happening towards the end of January. So it is about a month away, specifically on the 22nd and 23rd. And I'll go a little bit more into depth about interviews, but that's kind of what next steps is going to look like, is connecting with a nurse recruiter and then getting set up for an interview. But when it comes to kind of like onboarding and starting with us, we do have a little more flexible start dates when it comes to our graduate nurses. Some units have very specific start dates, like cohorts, for example. I know like critical care has very hard start dates for their graduate nurses. And I do believe our OR, like Periop 101, has specific cohorts with start dates. But all other units, they're pretty flexible when it comes to starting. But graduate nurses tend to start within a month after graduating. But prior to starting you do have to onboard with us, and you don't need to worry about any sort of onboarding tasks until about a month before your start date. So we want you to graduate. We want you to focus on schooling and, prepping for the NCLEX, and you don't need to worry about onboarding with us until a month before your start. Onboarding does consist of like a background check, paperwork, an employee health appointment. And then actually, when you actually do start with us, is you spend your first week in new colleague orientation. And then after that first week is kind of when you start residency as well as that preceptorship. So that's kind of what you can expect when it comes to kind of timelines of not only our interview process, but also kind of once an offer is extended, once you accept, what onboarding and starting would look for us. And then, so details on like pay, incentives, and benefits. So we base our nursing rates off of years of nursing experience and then your nursing degree. So coming in as a graduate nurse with your ADN, base rate's $36.18. If you have your BSN, it's $36.93. MSN is $37.72. This is your base rate, and it does not include your shift differentials. We do have a night shift differential of $4.50. Weekends is $4, and differentials stack. So working weekend nights, your total differential would be $8.50 on top of that base rate. Base rates, we do give credit towards prior experience. If you have prior LPN or paramedic experience, that will impact your rate, and we do give credit towards that. A lot of our schedules for inpatient is going to be like full-time is going to be 3/12s. We do hire majority of our graduate nurses into night shifts. There are some day opportunities, but they're going to be more seen in our acute care spaces. But full-time is 3/12s, and normally they're like 7 to 7. Other incentives and benefits, we do offer relocation assistance to those who are not local to Idaho. And we also offer day one benefits. So like, for example, health, vision, dental, as well as retirement. All of that you are eligible to enroll day one. There's no waiting period. We utilize Fidelity Investments when it comes to our retirement agency, and we do match up to 6%. We offer our nurses annual pay increases, as well as we also reevaluate our nursing pay rates because we want to make sure we remain competitive. So we do go through market valuations and adjust accordingly. We do encourage further education when it comes to our current colleagues, and we offer tuition reimbursement as well as scholarship opportunities. And we want to make sure you as a colleague are taken care of. So we do offer like resource groups, mental health opportunities, and we want you to take care of yourself so that way you can be your best self as well as feel taken care of and be part of a community. So when it comes to, I think interviews is up next. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, interviews. We do have an in-person interview event set for January 22nd, which is Thursday. It is going to be kind of an all-day event, but we do have our interview teams are kind of set up where we are taking into account your unit preferences, and we're trying to get you in front of nurse managers and unit managers or unit supervisors to best get you to kind of where you want to go. But we do want you to be kind of open-minded and flexible when it comes to those opportunities, because regardless of where you start as a nurse, it's going to be a great experience to kind of get you to your long-term goals. But so back to kind of the dates. In person is Thursday, the 22nd of January, and then virtual opportunities are going to be Friday, the 23rd. As I mentioned, when it comes to the pairings of interview group that you're going to be set with, our intent is to not only introduce you to multiple different people within our organization, but also give you an opportunity to like network with kind of your long-term goals. So you will be interviewing with like at least 2 people. It could be up to 3. So don't be alarmed. It's not a one-on-one. There might be more people on your interview panel. And then to go a little bit more in depth, specifically about interviews and like giving you guys tips. I know kind of what Christy mentioned earlier. Definitely know your why. Like why did you select St. Alphonsus? Why are you interested in our organization? Why do you think you would be a great fit with us? Be prepared to kind of speak to your experience. I'm sure, as you guys are going through your clinical rotations, I'm sure you guys have great stories to tell to kind of highlight how your experience has been and kind of showcase your critical thinking and time management skills. So I'm sure kind of note some good stories to tell, and you can speak to that. I know when it comes to some of the managers, they do appreciate some like thoughtful like questions that showcase your curiosity. And don't be afraid to kind of ask them like, what does being on the unit look like, or like culture of the unit. Speak to that and make sure it's a good fit for you too. I know in the job posting, we recommended you include a cover letter. It's not required, but it's recommended. It is definitely going to be a document if it is provided to us. We will be sharing it with nurse managers prior to the interviews. So it's just another way for managers to get to know you a little bit, because the timing of interviews, it's going to be a quick 30 minutes. So a cover letter will just provide more information, because 30 minutes I know is pretty quick. Other things when it comes to interviews, we often get questions about like what to wear if it is going to be in person or even virtual. Scrubs are totally okay. You are definitely dressing the part, but definitely, dress professionally. Business casual is great, but don't wear jeans and like a t-shirt. Definitely dress to impress. That's kind of general overview, kind of what we wanted to talk to you guys about. I don't know if hopefully I covered everything that when it comes to interviews and things like that. Christy, I don't know if I forgot anything, but does anyone have any questions? I haven't been looking at chat. So what questions do you guys have for us? Is there anything we can kind of go more in depth on?
Nothing in chat, Joe.
Making it easy. Love it.
I have a question. So if you have a cover letter, where do you do you like have to put it online, or are you giving this in person?
You can send it to us. There's like a other document upload during the application process that you could kind of upload that cover letter. But if it's easier, you could just forward it to us. That works totally okay. And when I say us, you could send it to like the nursing mailbox.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. No need to bring copies of resumes or cover letters. We are going to be providing the managers interview packets with everyone's information on there. So nope, no need to bring that. And if you are set up for an interview with during an event, we will provide you kind of a lot more details of where to go, what to expect. And we'll let you know, like, don't worry, we're providing interview packets with resume and cover letters. So definitely a lot more in-depth information will be provided to you when it comes to the interview event.
And I was going to add, sometimes we get questions if, like, aside from like the cover letter and the resume, can I have letters of recommendation provided to the managers? Those are not required, but if you want our managers to see letters of recommendation, maybe from your instructors, or maybe if you're working in a hospital setting and you have something that you want to provide, where you can send those, we'll get them added to your application as well, or you can upload them well, at this point, you probably can't upload them because I think once you submit your application, but you could definitely send them our way and we would include those in your packets. Joe, there's a question. How soon after graduation do most new grads tend to start working? So
I would say
it will
about
depend.
2 months, right? Like time
Yeah.
ish.
I think it depends on the unit too, because you can in some units start on a temporary Idaho license. So if your unit approves that, you could start sooner than if you're waiting to take NCLEX. But for like residencies, like critical care, it's like start dates in August. And then like Joe alluded to for OR, I think they have set start dates too. So it's usually like, yeah, I say 2 months, maybe a little longer depending on the unit.
Mm-hmm. Katrina asks, is it okay to bring notes for stories? I would recommend it. I know something I do because I tend to freeze when I'm in interviews, and I always look back at my interviews that I go through and I'm like, oh, I had a great story to tell, but I completely forgot. I froze, I freaked out. I would recommend bringing a list of questions that you want to ask, but then also you can note kind of stories that you want to tell. Obviously, don't write the whole story, that'll take up a lot of room, but like just give yourself little bullet points to help you remind yourself of a story you want to speak to. I would definitely recommend that. For graduate nurses, it will be dependent on the unit if a sign-on bonus is offered or not. Definitely the specialty units are not going to be offering graduate nurses sign-on bonuses. You're going to see that more so in acute care units. And I don't think, and don't quote me because every unit looks a little different, I don't think we're going to be offering day shift any sign-on bonuses. You're going to see that more so for nights on acute care.
Are simulation stories appropriate to share? So like simulation, like in your clinical set or like in your training, like as you're going through school and things like that, I'm assuming. I think those are fine. I think the questions that you will get are going to be the answers that you'll want to provide are behavioral based. And so whatever you feel like provides the best, how do I want to say this? Like whatever story or whatever example you have that you can clearly articulate maybe what the situation was, how you handled it, what the outcome was, maybe something you do different. I don't think it's necessarily like, is it in a simulation setting or is it in a clinical setting? What's okay? It's more like how you answer the question and the content within it. It could be like we have people that apply that have been a barista. Like if you tap into your barista experience and you thoroughly answer it and you hit all the points of like what you did, what the situation was, what you learned from it, like I don't think it's necessarily the situation itself that they're always looking at. Would you agree with that, Joe?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's a good
What does
call out.
oh, did you have anything else to add?
No, you're good.
Okay, I was just saying we do have a question about what does the relocation assistance look like? Do you want me to
We
answer
do
it to you? Okay, you can go.
base it off of distance a little bit. But our relocation assistance, it does come with a contract. It comes with a payment contract because we paid up front. You get relocation assistance within like your second or third paycheck. It is subject to tax, so please don't expect full amounts when it comes to relocation assistance. But because it is paid up front, the the contract is you have to stay at St. Alphonsus for 2 years, and then you also have to maintain your FTE status. So you're going to be hired on full-time as a graduate nurse. If you leave St. Alphonsus or if you drop down to part-time or PRN, you have to pay that relocation assistance back. But we do offer it for those non-local individuals. Good question, guys. What other questions do you guys have? Well, we do hope this was helpful. I know this was so much information. We are currently not magnet. No. And if you guys have like any additional questions, especially after this, please don't hesitate to reach out.
There's still kinds of questions coming, Joe. Can we bring the cover letter with, instead of sending it to you, is it better to send it to you? I would recommend Chantel to send it to us personally, because what is going to happen is the managers are going to be meeting the day before our interview event. And our intention is to provide them the packets for all their candidates that they'll be interviewing. And the ask is that they review them ahead of time. So you're welcome, if you don't have it written or you're like, well, I decided last minute, you're welcome to bring it with you to the event. But I think for just knowing how that Joe and I know kind of the backside of what's going to be happening, if they have it ahead of time, they can review it. They'll be able to read through your stuff. And so them having it before would be, I think, advantageous for you. If we applied for a specialty residency and the first cohort starts right before we graduate, 3 days or so before, is it safe to assume we would be in the second cohort if we get an offer? Emily, Erin, can I ask, like, when you say specialty residency, can you give me insight into what residency? Because that will help me answer the question. Is it critical care? Is it the OR? Peri-op? So I think what she does is put, like, it would be safe to assume that if your graduation date doesn't allow you to start in that one, then they would look at the second cohort. That is an accurate statement or assumption. For specialties, is it likely we won't receive an offer to interview if we have not done that unit in clinicals? I would not say that to be true. For specialties, I can't speak to the OR. Joe might have insight, on this. I don't. For places like critical care, I can speak to. We don't necessarily look to see where you've done your clinicals. What we're looking for is, like, do you have hands-on paid experience? Is that as a CNA, a nurse apprentice? That's what we're looking for something like critical care. If somebody doesn't have that, it's not like hard and fast that you wouldn't be considered, but it is something we are really looking for. And if you don't have that, we would encourage like step down or med surg or something like that. I don't know about acute care, or I don't know about OR, Joe. I don't know if you have insight into that. I don't know if they have to do their clinicals there yet in there, or have, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not super familiar. Yeah, with peri-op or OR space.
Yeah. So do you have a specific unit that you're looking at, or a specific specialty that might help us like kind of answer it a little better? Labor and delivery. So that is something that Tally is asking. Tally's the recruiter, is if you have done clinicals in the labor and delivery. But if you haven't done them yet, if you just haven't done them yet, if you get we can help you kind of get that information to Tally. I think she's asking, do you know if you will, or when will you? I don't think if you haven't done it yet, she wants to know more, like, well, when will you, and things like that. I will say though, one other thing with labor and delivery, I think, kind of to go back to what Joe said, is like, just be open there. As labor and delivery can be incredibly competitive, one of the most competitive that we have, just with limited numbers of spots and with people wanting it. But when we talked early on about NAMPA and saying that they'll be expanding. This is something our leader just shared with us today, is like part of that expansion in Nampa is going to be labor and delivery services. And so if today labor and delivery doesn't become available to you as a grad nurse, I would not discount like other opportunities, because we will need people to staff those units in the future. So I think the intention behind that is that we will look at like our internal colleagues who want to go to labor and delivery when that expansion occurs. So that's just a little tidbit, like to be open to other units if it doesn't happen today.
We do ask during that survey kind of your unit preferences as well as location preference. But if you're open to more than one location, Nampa, Boise, Ontario, you can definitely like let us know. We will definitely, you submitting your application kind of opens the door for all locations and units. So just because you indicated your top 3 doesn't mean you're not going to be considered for other opportunities.
I would also piggyback on that too, Joe. Like if you apply with us or you have applied with us, like you should expect to talk to somebody, whether that's the recruiter for your top unit preference. It could be a recruiter for your second unit preference. If maybe we're looking at an application and somebody selects all specialties and maybe they don't have any inpatient bedside experience. That happens from time to time, and we know those specialties are looking for something very specific. We have another talent acquisition partner that's skilled on all areas, and so she may reach out. So regardless of like, we want you to be able to talk to somebody and be able to share like, this is where I want to grow to. This is the area I'm open to anything, so that we can help you navigate our process. If we aren't offered a position after our interview, we then interview for our second and third unit preferences. Ideally, no. So, but that's to your benefit. Not like, ideally what we would like to see happen is if you interview, say you interview for, I'll use one of my units. So I have neurosurgical trauma ICU. On that panel will also be one of Joe's managers, which is Zach, who does other like gen surg trauma. She can name them better than I can. But ideally, like if let's say you and I talk and I'm like, okay, I'll send you forward for neurosurgical trauma ICU. Those are limited, so maybe you don't get an offer for that. Ideally, what Zach may do is say like, oh, I would love to have this person on my unit. So ideally, we would like to be able to find you a spot through the interview process. But we can't schedule people with multiple units and have you interview with your second and third. We would have those in mind, but we wouldn't be able to schedule you with it. Ideally, we would just have you interview once and be able to get you slotted, or offered a unit with us.
You guys ask great questions.
This is the most questions we've had. This is our 4th one, and this is awesome.
Okay, well, if I threw the nursing jobs mailbox, and both Christy and I have eyes on that mailbox. So if you guys do have any additional questions that come up, please reach out, send us an email, and we'll definitely get back to you. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us today. Hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully you guys know what you can expect for what's next. But we hope you guys have like an amazing holiday season.
Thank you.